Why did the egg have a day off?
Why did the egg have a day off?
Because it was Friday. And the jokes get cringier and cringier as we move along. But today is Friday. Felt like it was fitting. But welcome to the DQ Frenzy, where we have Quinn say the line.
Cold vibes and cold takes.
You're
Chill
close. It's
vibes and
chill
cold
vibes and
takes.
cold
I know,
takes.
I know. I did it wrong on purpose.
Oh, thanks, Quinn. You gotta keep. We always gotta keep it going with the cringe jokes. But
Yeah,
yes,
mix it
for
up.
always. But we got a good one for you. We got some headline news. We got some draft news. We got some player drama. We're also going to recap the two NCAA women's and men's national championships. Going to give you a little update too on the Masters because that's going on this weekend. Biggest weekend in golf. And then this week we are going to do the best division in football this year by a country mile record wise, the NFC North. But all of them were 0-3 in playoff games. So looked like that hype was for nothing. But Quinn and I are going to recap those. But first, our headline today is none other than the man himself, Tyreek Hill, getting into some ugly drama with his wife. They were involved in a domestic dispute earlier this week. Apparently, there was some video catching an argument for them. Getting into a little more of the details from an article from ESPN from Marcel Louis Jacques. I hope I said that right. Just want to give you credit. So apparently, officers did respond to a call from Tyreek's mother-in-law saying he was very aggressive and impulsive and that she was afraid for her daughter. And according to his mother-in-law, Hill and his wife, they got into an argument. He threw her laptop before. I know this is apologies if it's a little bit disturbing to hear, but like grabbing their 4-month-old daughter, then heading to the balcony. And Hill was served divorce papers Tuesday, and they said that to the officers that the argument was not physical, and they just get into more details about how this isn't Tyreek's first incident at all, and I sadly just don't think it's his last. But it's a little bit scary to hear this news. I mean, it's that like no one should be treated like this, but Tyreek's had a pretty bad track record when it comes to this. Like everyone always jokes on social media about Tyreek Hill and the amount of kids he has with different wives and everything, and how his personal life is just upside down. But actions like this are just never acceptable. But also, it's just scary to hear something about that. And he's had quite the weird offseason because he's had this. He apparently sounded like he wanted out of Miami, but now it seems like that kind of went away. So his future is just completely in question. But yeah, this is very, very concerning for Tyreek. And I don't know what the NFL is going to do about this. I don't think they've had a good history of punishing their players that like do this fairly. I go immediately to guys like Ray Rice, Ray Lewis were both in incidents and they kind of got scot-free. Ben Roethlisberger had horrible incidents back in the day and he wasn't suspended long. So it feels like the NFL just like they care about gambling more than like horrible incidents like this happening. So yeah, it's tough for me to like talk about this and it's tough to recap it. But Quinn, what's your thoughts on this whole Tyreek drama?
It's a shame it happens. I mean, it sounds like it luckily wasn't as bad as it could have been. There's other NFL players who do much worse. So at least it sounds like there was no violence, which is great. But Tyreek's definitely in character. He's could do with some maybe internal thought and some better behavior. But yeah, in regards to the trade talk, like, yeah, I've heard he wanted to get out. There was a crazy rumor that was like not verified by anyone that's like, oh, the Eagles are going to trade for him, and that's just dumb. Because, yeah, we also don't want that kind of player in our locker room. I mean, who does? But, yeah, it's a shame.
It is. I mean, I bet his playing career is going to continue on. If somehow anything gets worse, I don't think he's going to get Deshaun like suspended. I mean, everything he's gone through, and the man only got suspended 11 games, so I don't expect much. But I hope that that's the worst it gets. I hope that they're okay, Tyreek and his wife, and just his personal life. But I don't need him becoming the next AB. We don't need that because he's a joy to watch on the field. It's just sometimes could take it too far off the field. But we had to talk about that headlining news, but more the football related news. This is a big one, Quinn, and this could very well impact the draft overall and for the Saints. Derek Carr, his 2025 season is deeply in jeopardy due to a shoulder injury. According to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, he's dealing with a shoulder injury that, like he said, puts his next season in jeopardy. He's weighing options, including the possibility of surgery. They recently converted his 2025 salary into a signing bonus so they can clear cap space to get some players because the Saints and cap space have not mixed at all recently. His deal was 4 years, $150 million. And now that Kellen Moore is now in the helm, this will be very interesting to see what they do in the draft with the quarterbacks available. And I think there was a lot of mocks that had the Saints picking a quarterback. They're kind of in an interesting position in the draft because they're not anywhere near the top 5, but they still might be good enough to get someone. We'll get to the man named Shadir Sanders in a little bit. That's kind of popped up. Jackson Dart's been a very popular name in the middle of the first round. And now with this injury, and the fact, too, even despite the injury, I don't even know if Carr's contract was a good contract. I mean, he had a good 2-0 start for the Saints and then just kind of fell off after that, then got injured, and then haven't heard much. So they might have to think about their guy for the future. But Quinn, what do you think? Where do you think the Saints go from here and where Carr goes from here?
Well, I mean, Kellen Moore should have just stayed with the Eagles, you know? He wouldn't have had this problem. But, yeah, I don't know. Derek Carr seems to get a lot of hate, or that people really just don't like him. And I don't know. I think he's a fine quarterback. I mean, he's better than a lot of others. I mean, I'd gladly take him over like Justin Fields. And I mean, for you, we'd maybe take him over Russell Wilson. I don't know, but yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I feel like no one expected the Saints for him to be their like future quarterback forever. It's not like that unless he came in and did like continue that 2-0 start throughout the season. Then we might be having a very different conversation about him getting paid more. But interesting, they converted his salary to signing bonus. Almost seems like Kellen Moore learned a thing or two while in Philadelphia about managing players. But yeah, the Saints are just kind of a mess, and so it's unfortunate. They need a lot of pieces. Derek Carr wasn't really one of the pieces. I mean, I know some people wanted that to be one, but they could, for the pick that they would spend on a quarterback, they could get a very good player instead, and they already have a quarterback that's A-okay. So now that he's getting hurt and potentially missing a good chunk of 2025, it's rough. Maybe he can throw left-handed, the other shoulder. But
he could be Brock Purdy in the NFC Championship when his right arm just went to TV static, and then maybe throw lefty out of desperation. Yeah, I don't think Carr. No, it didn't. But I don't think Carr's the primary problem, but I also think he is an issue in a sense. I mean, yeah, he wasn't the long-term solution, but then you signed him to a 4-year, $180 million contract. You clearly thought he was going to help your team. So far, he hasn't. I know it's only been, a year that we've seen, but it wasn't that much of an inspiring year. And this is a weak division, too. where they completely underperformed. They only did good against the weak defenses in the league. They kind of struggled when they had to face like more superior competition. And I would definitely, if I were the Saints, consider getting someone like a Shadir or a Dart. Whereas I don't know what's going to happen if they're going to have to be forced to start right away because Carr might not play at all. That might be a lot of pressure. I mean, it might
Aaron
not be.
Rodgers.
Oh my God. Oh, let's sign more aging mid quarterbacks. Please bring it on for the Saints. They're really turning into the Aints. That's why they brought all the paper bags with them. But there's always talent on that team. But man, in terms of like staying mediocre and never being bad enough to get a top pick, they give me a little bit of Steeler vibes, a little bit worse version of them, but they just never seem to be able to get someone they really want. And I just don't know what the Saints' future is at all, but they might have to start a rookie. They might have no choice unless they shockingly sign Rodgers or do something. I don't know. If Spencer Rattler is, I think he's still on their roster, but like, you really got to go with him? I don't know if I'd go with a really raw player. You either got a really raw player or if you draft someone, a really raw rookie. So their hands might be tied. So it's very interesting what the Saints' future is. But we got to, speaking of Shadir, said that way wrong. I'm too tired tonight. He went to the Steelers facility and met with them. And he said it was a 10 out of 10. And,
wow. He lied. Sorry.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't lie. The Steelers are the best organization and best ran, and the facilities are great. I'm just kidding. Our facilities are terrible. But I do think, obviously, meeting with the Rooneys, they're very respectful people, very good owners. So no surprise that Shadir had a good meeting. Mike Tomlin seems to be a guy that him and Shadir could hook up and like get along with very well. And I've been back and forth on this because I think over these episodes, I've kind of just rolled my eyes at Shadir being like, oh, Shadir, I don't know if I want him or not. Or I don't know if I want any quarterback. I've expressed how I'd rather maybe tank a season and go ahead with Mason. Shout out Oklahoma State, by the way. That's where Mason Rudolph went to college.
Boo.
Hey, put some respect on their name. He's only guy making them relevant. But anyway, I mean, looking at it from a different perspective, it wouldn't be the worst thing. But I just don't know if Shadir is going to fall this hard to around the 20th pick, especially with just announcing the Carr injury and other teams expressing interest like the Saints. I don't know if somehow the Raiders could pull a shock and get him, or some team. Maybe Cleveland will end up going with Shadir at number 2. It's kind of a risk. I mean, I will say Dion would probably love Shadir to go to Pittsburgh because that's a team Dion loves, like a good culture, good vibe, good fan base, and a decent team. So if I was Shadir, I wouldn't mind if I fell to a better team because all the hype that Dion has been like, oh, good culture, good franchise, and this man might end up in Cleveland. You think that family wants any part of that city? Hell no. They would much rather be in Pittsburgh or even, I would say, New Orleans than be anywhere near Cleveland and Deshaun Watson and that whole mess. So, Quinn, what did you think about the Shadir meeting and his future in the draft?
I thought it was all bogus. He is going to the Detroit Lions. No.
Where'd you get that from?
I don't know, man made it up. So, I mean, I could see him falling. I know there's been some mock drafts where he has fallen. If he does, if he's there when the Steelers are picking, I think he could be a good option. I think he's better than Kenny Pickett was. Because, I mean, he's actually being considered being taken in the first 2 picks, unlike Kenny. Like, no one even considered taking Kenny in the first, 10 picks. So, I mean, I don't think it would be a bad option for you guys. I mean, at 20, you're 22 or 21 or 20? 21.
21 is usually where it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that could be a pretty good value. He could be very good. He was like the number one pick for a while, and then Miami quarterback came up and was like, no. So no, I mean he's now mocked as first overall, Cam Ward, but I don't think it'd be a bad option. I think he's worth taking a risk on at like 21. In like other drafts, I think he'd probably be closer to 21 anyway. But yeah, I think it'd be a realistic option for you guys. And I mean, yeah, you're a good culture, a good franchise, so that would work well. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he falls. He's the biggest wild card, I think, of the quarterbacks. I mean, maybe him and Ward will maybe Shador would go first overall and surprise everyone, and then
Wow.
and then Ward will go somewhere else.
Ooh.
Because I've heard some things about Ward that aren't great. Like I've heard he has a bigger arm than Sanders, but Sanders is more accurate or something. I heard this a while ago, so forgive me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, it'll be interesting. That's one of the biggest wild cards, I think. Where will Shador go? When will he go? We don't know, but we'll find out.
Well, speaking of wild cards, Quinn, our team is synonymous with wild cards. That fits Shadir perfectly. He could come to a 10-7 team. I don't even know if I want to imagine though the personality of Shadir, and then we sign Aaron Rodgers and that locker room. Shadir's not a bad personality, but he's had a bit of ego issues. So you combine him with Rodgers. Oh boy, those headlines! They might be on the McAfee show together. Pittsburgh and the McAfee show, which by the way, McAfee had a great show in Pittsburgh this week. Had this cool live show where Sidney Crosby won fans like $1 million in charity or something, which was amazing. Sid apparently could throw better than Paul Skeens or Ben Roethlisberger in that cool challenge. Make him new QB1, please. I would not mind at all. The Penguins suck. But yeah, it would be interesting to see Shadir in black and gold. I wouldn't hate it. I've grown to accept if it happens. I've grown to accept the fact that we're most likely going to shoot for a quarterback. I just don't like that it has to be this year. I think we've had the worst luck in terms of when we need a quarterback in a horrible class instead of just a year later when the class is much better. But it's the Steeler way, I guess, and I want to die. Okay. Final NFL news here. Nothing monumental, but they're going to continue to raise the standard for helmet performances. They got 7 new models coming in 2025, and they're going to ban some others. So the Guardian Cap option obviously reduced concussions by a good amount of percentage, and the NFL was very happy with that. So they're definitely expanding towards that here. I mean, I don't think a lot of people wear the Guardian Cap, but I don't blame people. I mean, there should be people that should wear it.
Have to
recommend that they yes.
It's just a giant bubble around to his head.
Yes, an enclosed bubble like that SpongeBob episode. But it could look weird from a fan perspective, but I think it does change. And I appreciate the NFL for doing that. I know I completely was kind of like, I don't want to say out of line, but I was just like, oh, NFL doesn't care about player safety last week. I went off about that.
I mean, they kind of don't, though.
But I just think they're going about it the wrong way overall. I think they sort of care, but I think they're just trying to make the brand look better rather than actually protect players. They're being like, hey, guys, we got new helmets. We got Guardian helmets.
Concussions.
Look, concussions, guys, are making that better. Meanwhile, we're going to schedule more games, and you're going to get less rest time, so you will look completely exposed and be more risk of injury. It's just ass backwards stuff, which is why I said I don't think the NFL really cares. Like, I think some people in the office do. Someone's got to have a heart in there somewhere, but most of them are like, yeah, screw them. They're hurt. We're business. But Quinn, what do you think about the new evolution of technology of the models of NFL helmets and the Guardian caps? Do you think this is a positive change?
I mean, it's at least a change attempting to make things better and reduce concussions. I mean, I haven't seen the data on Guardian caps, But if they do, in fact, help, then that's great. I know they don't look the coolest, but if they can try and incorporate that within the helmet, and that's part of the new design, I think that'd be nice because I feel like some of the players didn't wear it because it also could look a little silly. But if you make it look fine and have the same impact, hopefully better, more preventative, that'd be great. But at least they're doing something. I mean, it might just be like, look, we're trying, or look, we're helping with this aspect of football danger. But no, I mean, at least it's a step in the right direction. I'll take it. Hopefully, they're cool looking helmets.
You telling me those Guardian Cap helmets don't look fleek? Come on, man. You telling me they don't go in style? Come on, Quinn. Get with the times, man.
That's
it's
what
fashion.
I'm saying.
It's fashion.
Is it though?
Okay, maybe you're right. No, it's not. Come on, NFL, do better. We want players to look good and look cool. But it's time to get off of the field and go back to the basketball court because we got 2 national championship games to talk about. The first one was a wild game between Florida and Houston. Overall, the Final Four, I think, lived up to the hype of all 1 seed. Seeing Duke choke just made me smile. Just nothing like it. I know I screwed up. I predicted a game wrong. I said it on the intro to last week's episode. So don't ever listen to me in predictions. Honestly, Quinn might be your guy, and that's very humbling and humiliating to say that, but true. But Florida was one of the perennial favorites. I think besides Duke, they were the most picked among brackets. Houston was kind of the odd man out on this. They were, if you want to even say Cinderella story, they were the 1 seed Cinderella story, Houston. It was cool to see them beat Duke, and Auburn, Florida was so fun to watch, especially there was a crazy dunk in the second half. But the championship game itself, very ugly, very physical. Neither team can make a 3 to save their lives in the first half, but they turned it up in the second half. Clayton Jr. struggled big time, and that's what made me think Houston might actually have a chance. He only had 11 points and really only turned it up in the second half, but that's why Florida's got depth, man. They got good guards like Will Richard to carry the load with 18, and Alex Condon had 12 points, a lot of transition points for Florida. And Houston, Cryer was the only one who stood out at the guard for me with 19 points. Everybody else was stuck with single-digit points. Still came down to the wire, though. Houston was up 12, and they blew it. They had a chance in the second half to put it away, and they couldn't. And Emmanuel Sharp, number 21, he is going to be feeling it forever for his last shot that he couldn't even get off because it seemed like he tried to do a half pump fake, half I want to try to shoot it, but then he dropped the ball, couldn't touch it because it was going to be a travel or a double dribble, and 4-1. So the fact that Houston couldn't even get a shot off was sad. Now, Houston does have a very good recruiting class. I think they're ranked one, like already the NCAA has like their way too early power rankings of the top 25 teams, and UConn's one of the best. Houston's one of the best. Florida dropped down big time because a lot of guys are leaving for the draft or graduating. So Houston, I bet, will be back. But Florida definitely deserves it. I'm happy for them that they won and their young coach. They have a really well-balanced team. They're almost unstoppable. But I'm happy it was close and it lived up to the hype. I just feel bad for Houston. I really do. But like I said, I think they can at least get close again. But Quinn, what did you think of the Final Four and this epic game?
I was pretty happy. I mean, it was nice to see get in the Final Four 2 teams winning that haven't been the championship in a while, as long as I paid attention, which to be fair is probably like 5 years or 6. Excuse me. But it was nice that fan. It's like, yeah, I recent fan. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, I was happy that it's like, all right, Florida, they haven't made it this far, and who knows how long. Houston is always a 1 seed, but always just gets knocked out early in the round, early on in the tournament. So it was nice to see that one of them was going to win, and I was happy Florida won. I wasn't really rooting too hard for either team. I was kind of indifferent, but it was nice that it was a really close game, good, tough game. Like you said, the first half was a little rough. 3-pointers just didn't exist. But yeah, entertaining, good time. Definitely nice to switch it up. And even though it's all kind of like predictable for most of March Madness, at least the ending was a surprise of two teams out of nowhere, kind of from compared to previous years that came up and one won it.
Yeah, Houston was definitely, if you want to call it, the out of nowhere team. Florida, not so much. They were kind of expected to be here, but they haven't won a national title since I believe '07, 2007, and
Good year.
Houston's never won a national title. They've lost every time, and they still have the curse continue. They always seem to be the bridesmaids and never the bride when it comes to the Final Four and just the big time teams. They always seem to come up just short against these teams, and it was their shot. Just that last possession was just so ugly. I don't understand why they felt like they had to shoot the three when they were only down 2, but it is what it is. Still a heck of an effort from both teams, and way to live up to it. This game, Quinn, was not as close at all. This was an absolute blowout. UConn absolutely destroyed South Carolina again because they did it earlier this season. 82-59. The two-time champs of South Carolina go down in a heap. Paige Bucher's obviously the star of UConn. Didn't score the most points, was still very productive, though, with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. But their forward, Sarah Strong, again, one of the best in the nation, if not the best forward in women's basketball, with 24 points and 15 rebounds, which is insane, considering how South Carolina usually is known for their big women in the forwards. Out Azzy Fudd, apologies if I said that incorrectly, but 24 points. And besides those names I mentioned, Quinn, points-wise, no one did a lot of else. It was usually Fudd, Buchers, and Strong. The trio the trio power, whatever you want to call them, led the way for UConn to win this. South Carolina just struggled all game long, just couldn't get any shots going. Their best players were bench players that got 10 points, and Joyce Edwards and Tessa Johnson. Their starters, especially their guards, really struggled, and I think they're exposed. And UConn's head coach, apologies if I don't know the name, definitely not looking it up on Google. But he's so synonymous with women's basketball. He's one of the best coaches of all time. Gino Auriemma, sorry. I remember that. Yeah, he won his 17th championship in his career. 17th. That is, I'm not sure if that record's ever going to be broken from any sports. He's one of the best coaches in women's college basketball history and just in sports history. So he's synonymous with that as well. And yeah, UConn dominance. I guess if the men's couldn't three-peat it, they have someone at least to fill the void and complete the three-peat. Unlike the Chiefs, they couldn't do it, but UConn basketball as a whole three-peats. But Quinn, what did you think of UConn reigning and dominance and winning the title?
Well, I don't have a lot of thoughts on this because I don't watch women's basketball, but
you're canceled.
Yeah. No thanks. So it's disappointing to see a blowout in the championship game, and I mean South Carolina just really got embarrassed, which is again disappointing when you're like, oh boy, a championship game, I can't wait for a good game, and it's like if you're a Chiefs fan or somebody just wanting a good game for the Super Bowl, and you're like, oh, well, never mind. But yeah, I mean UConn is just danged good at basketball, men or women's. So kudos to them. Connecticut gets some attention, and well deserved.
And the women's, you can argue, have been better. Maybe in recent years the men have done it, but the women's has been like a dynasty in the 2010s and the 2000s. Like it would be a shock if they didn't win. So it seems like they're finally back on top. And usually that's the case with women's basketball. It's usually kind of like a team that has like good coaching. Like there's South Carolina's coach is one of the bigger legends too. So I feel like if you have that and a good recruiting class for the women, they can do wonders. So Paige Buchers and that UConn team in the WNBA. Oh my gosh, that would be pretty exciting to see if any of them can land on a team with Reese or Caitlin Clark. Oh my gosh. They would be fun to watch. Bring those ratings up for the women. Justice for them. Quinn, start watching women's basketball. I will make you. There's your homework. That's your homework assignment.
I'm not doing that.
Fine. But I will make you watch golf because we have to talk about the Masters because that is this week. It's the greatest week in golf because Quinn and I are going Sunday, which is so ironic that we're going on a day where the Masters will have its final day on Sunday.
We're playing in the Masters. Definitely.
No, we're not because the weather is so much better in Augusta, Georgia than it is in this shithole of Millersville, Pennsylvania in 50 degrees and rain. So much fun. But in terms of the score and the leaderboard, it is pretty stacked, the names in here, Quinn, and how close it is. Justin Rhodes right now leads at 8 under. But Bryson DeChambeau is right behind him at 7 under. McIlroy is one of the bigger names, the man who's never completed, I believe. I forgot what they call it in terms of like winning all the majors in golf, but there's like a big name for that, and McIlroy's trying to get there at 6 under. Corey Connors at 6 under. Scotty Scheffler, another big name at 5 under. A lot close, like really, really close, but still we have 2 days left in this. But Quinn, you got any thoughts on the Masters, how close the leaderboard is and everything?
I mean, it's nice that it is so close. Of course, rooting for the American naturally in DeChambeau. I mean, I gotta. But
USA, America.
Yeah, or Scotty Scheffler. He seems like a nice guy. But it's nice that it's so close. It's definitely more interesting. Like we were just talking about with the women's game, blowouts are boring, except if it's the Eagles and Chiefs. But anyway, I think it's great. It's very exciting. But we'll just have to wait and see. And maybe Dylan and I will do so well that we'll be invited to the Masters next year.
Maybe you. It sure as hell won't be me. I need to get my crap together on my golf game. But Scotty Scheffler won last year, and he's looking to defend that title this year. He's one of the perennial favorites, along with, I would maybe say, McIlroy and DeChambeau, and maybe obviously Rose is winning. You could put him in there, but it's just been 2 days. Like these next few days and these next couple of holes really kill a lot of golfers. Like there's been some infamous like last couple of holes on Master days where guys have completely fallen apart. I think like Jordan Spieth was one of the bigger ones where he was like up big a couple years ago and just really sunk his last couple holes and he really struggled and it ended up costing him. But he already had a Masters, I think, before that. So who cares? You get money either way, but there's nothing like it. I mean, personally, as a golf watcher, my family's very into it. Like I got cousins and grandparents that really like it. Watching it's a bit tough for me. I mean, no disrespect, but watching announcers whisper and silence is a little bit boring for me. That's why baseball too, it's sometimes tough for me to watch. I need action packed in my sports. But especially, I would definitely recommend, especially watching Sunday's version of the Masters. Gotta love listening to Jim Nantz and his "Hello, Friends" and his iconic voice. And it's always fun, especially if it's close coming to the last couple of holes, especially if it's coming down to like a sudden death 18 hole or something. It's as good as golf gets. I mean, we all remember like the Tiger moment where you thought it wasn't going in and then boom, just barely gets in. That's a moment in Masters history. So I think, yeah, definitely recommend it for you newcomers to golf or any interest in it. And I'm not even that big of a golf fan. I just like it. Meanwhile, Quinn and I are going to be probably hitting from the tree as guys are trying to win the Masters. So we'll keep you updated on that, or maybe not. But it's time to get to the NFC North. Like I said, the strongest division, I would definitely say by far this season. And because we always start with the champs here, Quinn has been tasked to do the Detroit Lions. And Quinn, floor's yours.
Now, I just want to point out the Lions for the maybe 4 years ago and before, for a long time, were one of the worst teams in the NFL. They're the Cleveland Browns.
Ew.
They were awful. But now they ended the season 15-2, number one seed in the NFC. I think one of the best records, tied with the Chiefs for the best record in the NFL. So they have come a long way. I mean, Matthew Stafford was a great quarterback, and still is a very good quarterback. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl now with the Lions. But now they have Jared Goff, who's probably a worse quarterback than Matthew Stafford. But they have a whole bunch of other pieces. I mean, hey, let's be fair. Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl. Goff hasn't.
Sure.
Both have been to one, too. But anyway, yeah, impressive season for the Lions. It feels like it's just kind of building up to the point where the Lions get to a Super Bowl, maybe. Last year, they lost to the Niners just before they could make it. It was a really good, close game, but unfortunately, they lost by 3 points, 34-31. But, I mean, they started off the season with an overtime win against the Rams. Really tight, Matthew Stafford, Goff game, really interesting, exciting there. But they scored a lot of points. Their average points was 33.2 per game, according to StatNews. Because, yes, I did not go and do the average myself. But, yeah, they had an impressive season. They were the number one ranked team for a while. It kind of jumped around with the Chiefs, especially towards the end of the season. But, I mean, they're just blowing teams out. They blew out the Cowboys 47-9. It was the 5th week, so the Cowboys were somewhat decent yet. Before they're just utterly trash. And, yeah, they played against the best division in football last year, arguably the best. And they swept the Vikings. They swept the Packers. The Bears, I believe, they also swept the Bears. So they just destroyed the best division in football, arguably. But they just had dominant performances. They had a close game against the Texans, won by 3 points. They lost the Bills 48-42, one of their only losses. But it was a really impressive season and a really disappointing end of the season because they went from number one seed to just one and done in the playoffs. Yeah, they lost 45-31 to the Commanders with a rookie quarterback in. And, oh boy, that's kind of embarrassing. I mean, Jaden Daniels is good, but kind of embarrassing to the team who changed his name, sold to a different owner, drafted a quarterback, and all of a sudden it has like a mid roster and just get blown out. They also had 5 turnovers, which is pretty bad. But definitely a disappointing end to the season. Very disappointing. I mean, they went from almost being in the Super Bowl last season to just getting murked in the first round, or, well, their first playoff game. So, great that they got there. Great that they got the number one seed. But it feels like maybe they hit their peak too early. I mean, like I said, they lost to the Bills, which the Bills were one of the better teams. Excuse me. But that was in one of the final weeks of the season as well. They took care of the other teams in their division. Like the Vikings were very good, but then the Vikings also fell apart. And so, really, I imagine their fans just want to go in and get back to the postseason. They had this really good really good regular season, but now they're just now we have to do it all again for another chance at getting in the Super Bowl, and we just lost. So definitely disappointing. They also have they have a bad pick, 28. Their needs per PFF are wide receiver, guard, edge, and linebacker. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't know how big a wide receiver needs they have. I mean, they have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They have Jameson Williams. Um, tight end wise, they have um, Sam Laporta, and they have Jared Goff, and then their running back duo of Gibbs and Montgomery. So their offense is pretty loaded. I don't know if I'd really feel like I need a wide receiver, but guards are always valuable protecting quarterback. Edges, pass rushers are great. So, I mean, one mock draft has them taking or trading up with the Rams and taking Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M and edge. But honestly, with pick 28, they're pretty much going to sit and wait until they're the best player lands in their range. If there's someone they really like, they could trade up with the Rams or someone else, but they're not really going to move very much, and it's better off probably just them waiting to see what happens for them. But a really impressive regular season, terribly disappointing postseason. We'll see how they bounce back. I mean, they lost both their coordinators, which is pretty bad. So we'll have to see if they can make up for that, how their new guys do. If they can keep up what they did last season, but it'll be interesting to find out.
Well, their deep bottom line on what killed them. I mean, the offense really struggled too against the Commanders, with Goff throwing some picks. But I think that's why everyone was choosing Philly over Detroit and thinking they're more legit, they're way more complete, boosting Quinn's ego. But they were a lot more complete. And that's why they won it all, and Detroit lost to the Commanders, and the Eagles handily beat them. So if guys can come back healthy, obviously Henderson, the Lions' biggest pass rusher, having that horrible injury was heartbreaking, along with many others, especially the secondary. So I feel like they need some depth, and I feel like that'll help Detroit. I don't think they're really going anywhere. It's going to be hard to live up to that record, and it's going to be tougher because they're in a division, but I still think they're going to be competing for the Lombardi. This team, though, I'm on the fence about. That's the Minnesota Vikings. What a season this was. Did any of us expect them to have this type of record?
Not me.
No. Everybody was thinking dead last in division easily. Everyone was, Lions are good, Packers are good. For some reason, I bought into the Bears hype along with a lot of others, and that went to crap because the Vikings took their place in terms of exceeding expectations and then some. What a story for Sam Darnold. We'll get to the ending in a bit, but man, to throw for 35 touchdowns, 12 picks, and to have the season he had, it felt like he finally had his system, which is why it's such a shame he left to go to a team that has no O-line and is going to be in big trouble, because this was the best fit for him by far as a quarterback. He wasn't seeing ghosts anymore. He was just seeing Justin Jefferson sprinting down the field and getting wide open. And that's always a joy to see. And just, they've had impressive wins too. I mean, they had like stretches where they looked mediocre and calling them frauds. Like they kept it close against some bad teams, but then they also swept the Packers, and they took Detroit to the limit a couple of times. And overall, it was just a good season. Did they benefit off of an easy schedule? Maybe a little bit. Their schedule wasn't too difficult besides their division. And Detroit owned them this year pretty badly. Them and the Rams were pretty much their curses. They were the only teams they lost to, was Detroit twice and the Rams twice. Is that not devastating or what? It's still a heck of a season, but it felt like they overachieved so much where you just don't know if this is going to happen again, especially because with J.J. McCarthy and waiting for him, because it seems like he's their guy. I didn't agree with it. I think you should have stuck with Darnold, but I get it. You want to go with the hyped up guy that you think has more potential and could be better than Sam Darnold. I don't know if he's going to be back week 1 yet or not. Maybe most likely he will. but anything's a better decision than trying to have Aaron Rodgers complete the Brett Favre arc, because that would have been horrible to watch. So, yeah, again, going to stats wise, Aaron Jones helped a lot. He had a 1,000-yard season, 5 touchdowns, which is okay, but still, most of the Vikings offense wasn't the passing. Justin Jefferson, again, another outstanding season with 1,533 yards and 10 touchdowns. Addison with 875 and 9 touchdowns. Hawkinson, shockingly, kind of struggled, had no touchdowns. It's like, so basically it was Addison and Jefferson doing most of the heavy lifting. But Minnesota's defense as well stood out in a big way. Like, I think their rushing defense specifically was one of the best, and they had very good pass rushers as well. And they stepped up big time and did overall pretty well this season. Just the way it ended, man. Sam Darnold ran himself out of town with 2 games. After all the good he's done, it just took 2 primetime stinkers for him to go to Seattle, which is such a shame, because if he does decent in even one of those, he's probably still a Viking to this day. But NFL's a business. It is what it is. It was a shame Minnesota collapsed in the way they did, especially for the fact that they just got blown out. They couldn't even keep up with the Lions. The Lions is one thing, but the Rams getting blown out the way they did, that especially in a neutral stadium, they had to go play in Arizona because of the wildfires at the time. That's heart sinking. That had to be gut wrenching to watch that as a Vikings fan. Or if you're just so numb to the Vikings' pain, they're probably used to it at this point. It's just in their DNA for Vikings fans to know that failure's coming. Like, I know a couple of Vikings fans that no matter how good they were, they're like, just wait till the end of the season. I know it's going to end badly. Like, Vikings fans just can't be happy because they know the postseason is going to go badly for them. So I feel for you, Vikings fans. I feel for you. They're very good. They're a very good fan base. And I don't know what's going to happen. I just don't think they're going to be as good record-wise. I feel like the Packers might overtake them and compete with the Lions in the top 2, while Minnesota still might be good, but still might be competing for that wild card spot. It just depends on McCarthy's performance. Draft-wise, it's tough because I saw a lot of like pass rushers that they can get, but I really think a corner is what they can use. And looking at like the rankings of them, and where the Vikings are in like the mid to late 20s, their pick, I believe they're like 27th, I
24.
think. 24. Okay, I was close. There's some intriguing options. I would say, I mean, if Will Johnson from Michigan kind of falls to them, it'd be pretty cool because he has pretty good foot quickness, very good man-to-man coverage guy, also a decent zone guy. Trey Amos out of Mississippi, I think, could be another one too, because he's got pretty good size. I mean, he's not known for speed or anything, but he has good potential to be the Vikings cornerback 1 if they pick him. So I feel like one of those two, or some type of good corner, because corners are usually pretty stacked in drafts. But I feel like in the first round, there's a lot with good amount of potential, especially Johnson or Amos, or maybe even Shaven Ravel from East Carolina if you want to really take a shot. Problem is, I think he came off an ACL injury, so that would be tough for him. But somebody like that could really help the Vikings secondary because they got absolutely torched in those last 2 games, and they don't want that again. So I say you go corner. But interesting season for Minnesota. Good, very, very good, but horrible ending at the same time.
Yeah, jumping back to what you said before with the Vikings and Sam Darnold and quarterback-wise, I feel like they have like a decent starting quarterback who can play pretty well and got them to a pretty darn good record. He had 2 bad games, but quarterbacks are allowed to have bad games. I mean, you can't just turn them magically overnight into something perfect, because clearly Sam Darnold is not that. I think it'd be good to keep working with them and see, like, all right, you had those, but let's figure out what we can do to help you here. But it feels like they have like a good, reliable quarterback they just found. They're like, okay, we could keep this. Or there's a shiny mystery box. It looks really cool. We shook it a few times. It sounds like it could have pretty good stuff in it, but I don't know. And that's their rookie quarterback. And like JJ McCarthy's also, he won the national title or national championship year before, but it was also kind of like, was he carried? We don't know, but they're like, it's pretty shiny. That's a cool box over there. We want to see what's in it. It's like, but it could be a bust. And they're like, no. That's pretty cool over there. And it's like, well, you have this. He's great. He does perfectly fine. You can keep him for another year, You could keep him for longer, trade him, whatever, have another good season, see where it goes. I mean, you're close to the Super Bowl. Certainly had Super Bowl aspirations. And they're like, no, we want this thing. We want the shiny box. So, I don't know. We'll see. The Vikings fans, like you said, they're used to suffering. Reminds me of a Epic Rap Battles of History lyric about if I wanted to fight loser Vikings, I go to Minnesota.
Oh, my God. Great. The memories are childhood.
Yeah. Sorry, Vikings fans, but it's funny. But anyway, let's move on to a better team. The Packers, the Green Bay mother-loving Packers.
Weren't better this year.
No, it wasn't great this year, to be honest. I mean, went 1-5 against their own division, and final record of 11-6. Now, they were in the playoffs by week 16, so they were there. They were the 7th seed, just like last year. But it's kind of a hard hill to fall off of, going from dominating the division for how many years to not. And it's
poor thing.
Go from like Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, which his name is just a question mark right now because he's. So just a brief recap. That's Jordan Love, right?
That's the next team that's being covered.
Yeah. But last year he was kind of bad, and then he turned up in the end of the season, started playing really well, and got them in the playoffs. This year, well, they started against the Eagles and ended against the Eagles, neither of which went very well. I mean, first game was in Brazil against the Eagles. Barkley's first game with the Eagles, he got 109 yards with 3 touchdowns. That's not great for the Packers. Jordan Love also got injured at the end of the game, was out for 3 weeks. But Jalen Reed did get 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving touchdown in that Eagles game in Brazil. But didn't start off on a great note, and with those injuries, they did kind of bounce back, and they beat the Colts and Titans. And lost a close game to the Vikings then. So without Jordan Love, they didn't do too bad. And he did come back for the Vikings game. But then he also... So he threw 54 times, completed 32 of those passes, got 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Jordan Love is like, I'm going to take a bit of Brett Favre with the interceptions, toss that with maybe a little bit of Aaron Rodgers, and then just come up with a whole bunch of mid with that. Like, he either has great games where he throws a lot of touchdowns, but he also gets a lot of interceptions. It's like a slightly better Jameis Winston. It's disappointing because you want another franchise quarterback, and obviously Packers are spoiled, with the quarterbacks. But it wasn't great. I mean, Packers expect to win the division, and I mean, 5 years ago, maybe, it was always Packers NFC Championship game, unfortunately always losing to the 49ers, which was still bad, but at least we're in the NFC Championship game, right? I mean, we destroyed the Niners this year, 38-10, stuck on that Niners. But, yeah, it's not what we want, and certainly Jordan Love isn't bad, but I don't know if he's going to be the guy for the Packers. I don't know if he can win the Super Bowl for the Packers. I mean, he's had one, full season, not even full season, but, half a season, a quarter of a season last year where he was good and played clutch. This year he had moments, but he also had times where he just threw a lot of interceptions, which It's pretty bad. But I mean, it's disappointing, especially considering the last game. It was close, but it never really felt close. The Eagles just dominated. I mean, it was 22-10. And the Eagles weren't playing super hot. They were a bit rusty from their week off of resting from the previous week when all the backups beat the Giants for the Eagles. But it's disappointing, especially going 1-5 against the division. And it could have been 0-6 if they hadn't kicked that last-second walk-off field goal against the Bears. And that's pretty bad if you're only beating the Bears by a field goal, especially when Aaron Rodgers owns them. Apparently the Packers don't own him, just Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he's going to be the next Tom Brady in the sense of buying a stake in a terrible team. But, yeah, I mean, their best win was probably against the Texans. That was pretty good, pretty impressive. But when it comes down to it, in the playoffs, you lose. I mean, we didn't really expect them to win another game as a 7 seed in the playoffs because it was the Cowboys last year, and we know how the Cowboys win the playoffs. And they weren't going to do the same against the Eagles team that was the best roster in the NFL last year. So, disappointing. Needs-wise, wide receiver, pass rusher. I mean, we basically have like 5 number 2 wide receivers, which is fine, but it'd be nice to have an actual like number 1. I mean, Jalen Reed's kind of like sniffing the area.
Yeah, what do you mean? Jalen Reed did great for me in fantasy. Won me my championship.
Yeah, see, perfect. But a real number 1 wide receiver would be nice. Pass rusher, just always pass rushing help is good. And cornerback, I mean, Jair Alexander's free agent, I believe, and he might be gone. So, I mean, a quarterback might not hurt. Excuse me. There's a mock draft from the NFL that has them taking Trey Amos, cornerback Dylan mentioned at 23,
mm-hmm.
and see the rest of Dylan's talk about cornerbacks from the previous team with the Vikings for the other options. But, yeah, it's, again, 23 is not great. It's really just who's there, what's the best player left in those positions, or just in general, and just taking whoever's there. I mean, there's not a ton of needs. It just feels like some retooling. I mean, a backup quarterback might not hurt later on that could maybe compete if Love gets hurt. But, I mean, they had Malik Willis. He did pretty well. He won some games. But he was terrible before he got to the Packers. So a backup quarterback in the later rounds might be nice, but maybe, we'll see. But disappointing season and kind of a bleak outlook considering the rest of the division is very good. And that's not great. Not great at all.
Man, the disrespect to Jordan Love, man. You just... I don't know.
Am I wrong?
I don't know if it's because you miss Aaron Rodgers for some weird reason. I mean, he's inconsistent. I will say that, but I definitely think you can have so much worse than him at quarterback. And yeah, it was a disappointment because you never really improved. You kind of just ended you ended a little worse because at least last year, the previous year, you got to the divisional round where this year you had to run into the best team in Philly. And that was just
didn't do too bad in the divisional round the year before either.
No, you didn't. And you kind of hung tight with Philly for a bit. It was a little bit of an ugly game, but yeah, it just seems like they're in wide receiver purgatory. Like they're probably just going to be stuck with this, and they're probably going to be kind of like a Bills situation but the thing is with the Bills, Allen could kind of make up for it. Can Jordan Love kind of make up for the lack of like a true number 1? I don't know when you get to these big time games. So it's tough for Green Bay. I mean, it's hard for me to see them like truly exceeding the Lions or maybe even Minnesota. Like maybe they could, but until I see significant changes, I just don't know. I mean, Josh Jacobs, really good season for them, and defense had its ups and downs. I mean, it was a lot better than, especially the pass defense, than the previous regime has had. And your old god awful defensive coordinator that you used to have.
His name.
Exactly. It's a lot better, but yeah, in Cheeseland, it's a little bit bleak, like you said, bleak, a little bit of a questionable future for them, especially just because the division's getting so good. It's kind of tough to compete. Quinn, of course, you had to leave me with this team. Why? Why did you have to have me
I thought you liked
talk
them.
about this shithole of a team? I could care less about this team, but all the hype surrounding Caleb Williams and the free agency that they had.
Who? Sorry.
Mr. Pink Nails himself. Okay.
Oh.
Now we're definitely canceled. But
worth it.
Oh, absolutely. Get the views on TikTok. Anyway, all the free agency moves and just everybody. I think even besides me, you were kind of having decent expectations. Like
I was.
They had like wild card potential in them with the roster they had. How close did they get to a wild card game? Not even. You know what they did? They got themselves another good pick. Eberflus. Why did that man still have a job? It's weird that they trusted him back then. But after that Lions fiasco of just not knowing how to manage a play clock, you couldn't keep him on the team after that. You absolutely couldn't. And just the fact that they went from 4-2. I mean, if you want to talk about the worst loss all year, how can you not say the Commanders' Hail Mary with one of their players taunting the fans as the play's going on, and then he turns out to be the guy who tipped it in the air for the game-winning touchdown? Oh, the irony of that, the irony of the number 2 pick beating the number 1 overall pick, and it completely turned the Commander season around, and it completely started the Bears' collapse after that because they lost almost every other game other than a week 18 win over a backup Packer team. Well, congratulations to you guys. Just what a bad disaster of a season. I mean, maybe expectations were high, but they should have been better than 5-12. And Williams, stats-wise, I was impressed by how he controlled the ball with 20 TDs and 6 picks. Wasn't amazing, but for how bad his O-line is, and I think that was one of their biggest weaknesses all year. Maybe that, and then like their secondary. He had no time at all in most of those games. Like the Texans game specifically, I remember that dude was just getting harassed all game, and they couldn't get anything going at all. And he was hurt for a little bit too for a couple of games, so it was a little bit rough. And his health might be in the question with how they have to improve that O-line. They did do it in free agency, thankfully. They bolstered it. The Bears should just win the offseason champs every year because everybody every year says, oh, the Bears, the champs of the offseason. They got so much potential, and then they always fall flat in the regular season. So I'm not putting any stake on that team until I see some improvement. But at least they got rid of their coach. And, I mean, there's some diamonds in the rough here and there, but mostly it was more bad than anything. Just a lot of underperforming. DeAndre Swift, he kind of formed like DeAndre Swift pretty much. 959 yards, 6 touchdowns. Not bad, but he's kind of mid at best of a running back. And it's to the point where maybe people are thinking the Bears should get Chenty or some type of running back in this class because they probably do need an improvement. The wide receivers really disappointed. DJ Moore kind of felt non-existent for a lot of the season.
He dropped off.
Oh my gosh, yes. Only 966 yards and 6 touchdowns. Keenan Allen.
Who?
I mean, he stayed more healthy than we expected, but 744 yards and 7 touchdowns. Adunze. I think Adunze did for a rookie year. He's a rookie, so maybe I expect some improvement with 3 touchdowns, 734 yards. The secondary was a mess. Sweat was the only one that really contributed on that pass rush. Nobody else really did anything on that front. And that's why it led to them picking up guys in free agency, which they desperately needed. They got, in terms of the offensive line, they got Joe Thuney, Drew Dalman, and Jonah Jackson, some decent depth pieces. And they signed some pass rushers as well. But if you're going to go draft-wise, I think you need to give Sweat some help in the pass rush. I definitely think I think edge rusher is what you need at first. They definitely, like I said, they need a running back and they need safety help. But I think you could get that later. Whereas edge rusher, I think I'd try to pounce now. There's guys like, well, you're not going to get Carter. You're just not going to get Abdul Carter. He's getting picked really early. But Mike Green from Marshall has some promise, but he doesn't have a lot of experience. And also he went to Marshall. I like, again, these last names are throwing me off. Sorry, but Ziraku. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even have said it. Oh, we're so canceled. But from Boston College, kind of a smaller outside linebacker, but a lot better of experience in football IQ. Pierce Jr. from Tennessee is a decent option too, but I think I'd go with the man from Boston College. I feel like he could be a good guy to help Sweat out. He kind of like rushes a little bit differently than Sweat, which I think is what you kind of need for Chicago. I mean, if you really want to take Genty, I don't know, but I think the Raiders are going to pounce on him first before they get the chance. Maybe if he's available, go ahead. But besides that, I think improve the defense. O-line too, but they got some guys in free agency. So, but I just think the Bears are in a deep rebuild because in this division, if you stand out that in a bad way, you're in trouble. If the Packers, Vikings, and Lions intend to stay good, which I believe, Minnesota's the only one where I'm kind of like they could fall off big time, but I still expect the three to compete. I think Chicago is in deep, deep water. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit rough for Caleb Williams. I don't know. Maybe he'll completely turn it around somehow, but I don't know how high expectations I have for the Bears. Just ugly season.
Yeah, it's the Bears. I mean, we expected more of like maybe a 12-5 record, not a 5-12 record. But yeah, disappointing. You'd think with their offensive talent they would have done better, but well, it is the Bears after all. But I think that about does it for this episode. Next week, we'll be doing our first mock draft.
Yes, it's the big week. It's time. It's time to do mock drafts. We're on the road to it. It's going to be so exciting to be able to do that. So, yeah, stay tuned next week. Oh, yeah. Chill vibes,
Sorry,
too.
Cold takes.
You almost got it, man. We can't even get our own slogan right. That's sad. But for the DQ Frenzy here from Dylan Shields and Quinn Schmiedel, have a good weekend and great rest of next week, guys. And we will see you right back here for our mock draft next week.
Yeah, go Pack, go.
No.